Just because it's just for recreation, just to stretch us all. I might just take a couple quick color questions though that interest me a lot. Well, I've been telling my students the wrong thing now for about 6 years. It's funny. There's always sort of questions when they get into these little question chains. So we just have to figure out where the good place to jump off is. Because it's sort of funny, when you have different teachers, they enter your head, and then when you teach, weirdly enough, out of your mouth they come. And that's always a bit of a shocker when it happens and you don't see it coming. It does happen, though, doesn't it? And I remember, when I think of, it's weird, when I think of certain names even, it's a different person's mouth framing them. So Matisse is in your territory, as it turns out. If I say Matisse, it's Jim Gordaneer's mouth saying it, not mine. And one of my favorite Matisse stories is, him saying on the one hand, I want the paintings to be like a comfortable armchair for a tired businessman. And on the other hand, hearing stories about him crying and swearing in front of the camera. And I guess I'm really interested in asking you a couple of things about the role of doubt. But maybe since we're talking about color right now, I'll frame it as a color question. There are parts of the color that are really vivid and saturated and seem to devour forms. And there are others that seem to exist to make the forms obdurate and undigestible. And is there something we can say about those colors that are doing the devouring? I'm looking here especially, where I feel as if there are certain things I'm seeing and certain things that I'm being blocked from seeing, blocked from reading. And this makes me think of the issue of doubt, doubting what your own two eyes are looking at. So if you want to pick that question up anywhere along the chain you feel like.
I'm so glad to have you on the panel. I mean, you bring it all in. Hey, Harry, he brings it into scary. It is, but I bring it up.
Well, okay.
All right.
Let's
one point. Okay, you go to it.
Well, the boy, for instance, right? I'm interested in the way that some other color seems to dissolve parts and interrupt my seeing, and other parts firm him up.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in if you could talk about this sort of play.
That's enough. You got to do it in simple terms. Not young anymore. The very first thing I think I was ever taught by any instructor was that very point. In order to make something of interest, something has to overtake the other. So the other plays a minor part where another color or shape or form plays a more major part. So that there's that. It gets right back to what Larry mentioned about this looking at a painting, thinking you've got it, and then all of a sudden there's a disruption somehow. And I think that is part and parcel of this, and this is going right back to the very beginning with me, because that's what I was told.
In Lisa's essay, she mentions the influence of Jack Wise, and the only thing I can, I never knew Jack outside of the odd visit and bumping into him in various openings by his own and others, and but I knew he was one who was very much into the contemplative, meditative side of life, and I wondered what aspect of that influenced you in any particular paintings that are in this grouping?
I think that was in the 70s when we first were out there, 76. Jack was teaching at the Victoria College of Art, as was I and Bill Porteous. And I became very close friends with both of them, but particularly Jack, because we'd visit studios back and forth. And that was extremely, I mean, he'd spend months making these little calligraphic marks with this big squash painting. And so you'd have to be content to be able to do that. But I think the main thing were those little marks he made. They're Oriental calligraphic marks, really. And he was very much in favor of the East in terms of his thinking and in terms of his painting. And that was the main thing that I got from Jack, was the calligraphic movement of the brush and the mark that put on. Now, in my own case, I worked with oils. I wasn't working with gouache with tiny brushes, building up that way. But the same, and the influence was there to put calligraphic marks, and some of them are more than others, but that was the main basis of the paintings. The very side, that whole this is what I said, where to start. A calligraphic mark gets you going. And then from there on, you can build other calligraphic marks until you start to form.
Still teaching. It's good. It's a good, but what's the helps you think, right? If I wasn't teaching, I don't know if I'd ever have to think again. Which does sort of lead me to another question. I was very poignant to me when you said that's what they told me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you're in the studio, you have to be highly suggestible. And I think it's interesting when you talked about learning from students, learning about painting by watching how students move. And also, I know you've commented on the real importance of having that group that would meet in the Chapman group.
Yeah.
So I was interested if you could comment on your experiences now, working, it seems, more on your own, without sort of people to, for lack of a better word, to cannibalize as you're working.
The Chapman group was very important as we were working as a group at that time. And we did feed off each other to a large extent. When the Chapman group disbanded in 98 or 99, it didn't mean that we never talked to each other again, because there's scattered all over Canada anyway. My son's in Montreal, he's part of the group. Lucia Sanderman is in San Diego. John Climenhake's in Ontario. So, but the main thing is we keep in contact with each other. Not as often as we'd like to, certainly not in terms of personal meetings, but via phone. And that's one thing at this age I can handle the phone. Don't worry about email or anything, I can't do that. But the thing about that is that we all speak the same language. It was formed in those 7 or 8 years of the Chapman group. And since we still talk the same language, it's very easy to get going again. And so it's, but working on my own, you know, we still have contact with each other, and we share things. And Mark Laver is part of the group, and he's still in town, as is John Gordaneer. So, you know, I'm not completely on my